Thank you so much for joining us on the Arbitration Pitch. It's such a joy to have you.
Lovely to be here.
Yeah. Debbie is a very experienced lawyer and arbitrator and arbitration practitioner in Nigeria with over 2 decades of experience, and we can't wait to hear how her journey started. Please tell us, how did you start this arbitration journey?
Arbitration. Honestly, sometime in Lagos 2014, I was frustrated with the pace of some of our matters in court. So I wasn't even aware there was an arbitration community in Lagos. And then I went for a meeting with a friend, and I realized it was a huge community. So I started practicing, or rather trying to find out what was going on in the space. And I found out that it was thriving, not as large as the international community, but it was a thriving community. They were trying to improve the laws, improve the processes. So I got involved. Unfortunately for me, I found out about the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, and I found out that they had a program for training lawyers who had been involved in litigation to help them transfer easily to arbitration. So I joined the program and did the membership. After a couple of years, I became a fellow, and you know, it's been amazing since then. I mean, trying, but amazing.
It's interesting because a lot of people say that, I mean, they tell themselves that they will never become tribunal and members of a tribunal because they love litigation so much, and the fact that arbitration provides you with an opportunity to do some form of litigious work, you know, as counsel, and they're saying, I'm not going to be part of any tribunal, I'm not switching over to that side. But you, I believe, have been appointed as arbitrator before, and how was your first appointment? How did you get it, and how was it?
Okay, so before I got appointed as, my first appointment was as sole arbitrator. Yes, and it was by an institution. But before then, I've been very involved in arbitration, what I call it support services, in conferences. I was the vice chair of the young members group of the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, the Nigerian branch of the UK. Yeah, so there was a lot of that going on. So of course we were known in the arbitration community, and I had done a lot of trainings, programs, you know, communicated with some arbitrators, and also acted as tribunal secretary. So my first appointment was one of the reasons why I'm still very active in conferences. I mean, my initial reaction when I'm going to a conference, I'm not really thinking of networking at first. I'm thinking of sitting in front and getting all the information I can from the practitioners who are sharing their experience. Because my first appointment was by an institution, and it ended up as a consent award. Now, I tell this story a lot because I had gone for a training on ICC awards, award writing. It was by Professor Muhammad Wahab, I remember, and he had spoken about consent award. Before then, I had started reading a lot about award writing because I was in the process of writing my fellowship exams. And my understanding of consent award was very much like terms of settlement in court.
Right.
So I remember that conference because a friend of mine said, Deborah, you're asking so many questions. But I didn't understand what he was saying about how the consent award should be drafted.
Right.
So I kept asking questions. And it turned out that my first appointment, I was a sole arbitrator. There was nobody to lean on. And they didn't want a tribunal secretary because it was going to be virtual only. And eventually they decided to settle, and there was a consent award written. Now, if I hadn't asked all those questions, what would I have done? I would have written a terrible award. And the institution would have said, oh, this person never again. But because of that experience and the training, I understood what a consent award needed, and I was able to do that and get, you know, I still got appointments and that. So I'm grateful for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. You know, I like the fact that you mentioned conferences. How do you decide on which conference to attend? Because there's so many arbitration conferences, institutions, and sometimes if you go for every conference, you might not get the time to work. You know, so how do you do that?
Yes. Now, I'll be very honest with you. I can tell you how I felt before and how I felt after the concept award that I wrote, the first one I wrote, before I would pick and decide, okay, I'm going to do this one this year and I'll do the other one next year. But sometimes, even when I'm doing that, because of the costs, sometimes when you see the program of the conference, you see some topics are very interesting, some topics that will help your knowledge, some topics that will even open you to new areas, you know. And you can't, especially for me, where I run my own firm, so I don't have the time to pick only arbitration briefs. We do transactions, we still do litigation. So sometimes you don't even know what's happening in the arbitration space, especially internationally. So it's only at these conferences that you can have an idea also of what interests you. Before I started going for conferences, I would say, okay, I just want to do commercial and construction arbitration. But from attending conferences, I see that international investment arbitration is very interesting, and I definitely want to be in that space. So if I tell you pick and choose, I would be dishonest. What I would say is, when the conference programs come out, they always mostly come out before the conference day. Look at it. If it interests you, go. If you don't have anything that you're doing, go. If you have some extra money to spend, go. You know, because you never know what you would gain from them. Yes. One thing I realized early, especially as a vice chair of the young members group of the CIAB, is the young members trainings are always free. I remember even before I left, the CIAB, YMG and the ICCF had a joint training that was free. So I would say join the young members group of the CIAB, join the young members group of the ICC. The trainings are always free, and especially post-COVID, they're always virtual. They're always virtual. So join those conferences and be involved in the committees. When you're involved, it's easier to say to one of the seniors in arbitration, oh, can you come and speak to us? And they will never charge you. So if you join those committees and you organize these virtual conferences or fireside chats, they would always come and speak to you. I'll tell you one secret. The reason why we organized our CIAB and ICC Young Members Training was because we wanted to know the ABCs of arbitration. So we said to ourselves, how can we? We're the ones, you are chairman, you're vice chair, you are my friend, you're ICC. Let's organize the ABCs of arbitration. So as we're organizing the training, we're listening.
Right.
Do you understand?
Right.
So we know what we needed and we provided it for people. So if you know what you need and what you wish someone else had done for you, provide it for other people by getting involved in those young members groups.
Wow. Wow. I believe you've said for so many years, and it's paying off now. Have you had any experience with mentorship, and how did you go about it in such a way that it was mutually beneficial?
Okay, so before I realized I could speak to these seniors, what I did was I looked at a couple of arbitrators that I had heard speak in public, I had some respect for, and I would Google them. In fact, I remember saying to one of them, I said, sir, you don't know me, but you're my mentor. He said, how? I said, I have your CV on my table.
That's right.
There's another lady, every time I see her, she's not good with faces. I always remind her of who I am. I said, I'm your mentor that you've never, I'm your mentee that you've never met. Because I have their CVs on their table. I see what they've done. And then listening to them speak as well, a couple of them I've heard speak and they've told their stories. I note down their journey just to encourage myself. You know, for them, it took a longer period for them than it is for us. And then eventually, what I started doing now, because now my face is familiar to some of them and there's some respect, I can actually just call them out for lunch and I'll say, oh, myself and a couple of my friends who are like me will say, oh, let's put money together, let's take this person out. We'll say, oh, sir, when are you free on this day just to speak to us? We just want to pick your brain. And we take them out for lunch and we ask them all the questions, and most times they don't even let us pay. They end up paying for it, but I started doing that as well. So I don't have a personal mentor, but that's the way I get information from people, so that I can also decide on the path I want to take.
And how do you also mentor others, when they come to you?
I would answer every question. There's a man I know, a young man who I've seen there's nothing happening. If it's CIAB or ICC, he's there. and he's a junior associate in another firm. So every time I see him, I encourage him. Sometimes people ask me questions, I answer, but I'm very busy. Nobody has asked me out for lunch yet.
I'll ask you out for lunch.
But I mean, I always, and I like to be honest with people. Yeah. Sometimes people sugarcoat things, but I tell them honestly that this is a forever thing. So I'm not even there yet. Yeah. Do you understand? I know people who are half my age who work in international law firms in Nigeria and have been able to be exposed more. But you have to always forge your path. So I always give information. I love to do that so that people can, the more people there are in the space, the more demystified this arbitration and international arbitration is.
Right. You mentioned you have your own firm, right?
Yes, I do.
What's the name of the firm and what do you do?
Okay, so Achendo Law Partners LP. We are a small boutique firm, just about 10 of us in total, but we offer dispute resolution, transactions advisory, and arbitration. My other partner is an SAN, so he does more counsel in arbitrator. He can't sit as arbitrator. He prefers to advocate for clients, and then I sit in my personal capacity as arbitrator sometimes as well. Yeah, but we do construction law, we do commercial agreements, investments and divestments. We're also in the technology space as well. Yeah,
that's amazing and very diverse. I think that young practitioners in Africa shouldn't only clamor for the law firms outside of Africa, but there are lots of firms in Africa like your firm and that is doing great things, and they should also apply to intern and work there to learn from your great expertise. Now, as we round up, I'm speaking like a Nigerian.
Yes,
as we round up our conversation, I'd just like to find out from you 3 things that you learned along the way. If you were speaking to your younger self, 3 things that you tell your younger selves to do. And I'd like you to look into the camera because you'll be speaking to your younger self in various forms across the continent.
Okay, so let me think about the younger self across the continent, because whenever I think I carry my younger self with me all the time, because the younger me was very determined to be the best in what she does. Younger me was always trying to be A1, but I will say to her now, take a deep breath. You have the rest of your life to be the best in whatever you do. No matter how big a mountain is, it's step by step. So you sit down and visualize where you want to be. Don't be afraid of dreaming big and write out your plan. Don't think about the economy. Don't think about how terrible or hard life can be, because good things don't come easy. Write out your steps, and along the way you may even amend those steps, but just wake up one morning, take a step, take a step, take a step. If you're tired, relax. When you resume and you feel better, you continue with your plans. We always think that, one of my favorite preachers is Pastor Pojo, and he will say, you can make it at 60, you can make it at 70. Let's not get carried away with trying to be everything we want to be at 30 or 40. Sometimes some things take longer, and some things you appreciate in your older years. I got my master's in degree at the age of 45. I know people who got theirs at the age of 20, but I know that I appreciated it more now than I would have if I got it earlier, because now I'm doing the courses I wanted to do, the courses I like, not what I would have thought was in at the time. So take your time, make your plans, and don't ever give up. That would be my advice to you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauraine. Interesting.
I believe you are such a great voice on the continent, and we cannot wait to see you explode more and more.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Looking forward to watching you explode as well. I love watching you.
Thank you
so much. Thank you for what you do as well.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you.